Welcome to the Solution Spotlight webinar series, Infinity Suite, Superpowers for Budgeting and Planning. Infinity together with Qlik, and our partner GINQO this time. Here we are. We have Mike Ellis, the Director of Customer Success for GINQO. Nice to have you here, Mike. This is our first webinar, the first one with a partner, so we're excited to have you here. From North America this time.
Awesome.
I'm Angeline Corvallis, COO of Infinity. We have Martin Kostic, CEO and founder of eMark Analytics in Infinity. And we do have part of a recording from our colleague Rado Oreski, who is a budgeting and planning mastermind, who is unfortunately not able to be here, but he is kind of the one that was behind a lot of the ideas that you're going to see today. He is eMark Analytics CDO and partner and Qlik Partner Ambassador. So without further ado, I will hand over to Mike. You give your first words, introduce our wonderful partner, GINQO.
Thanks, Angie. Appreciate being here, and welcome, guys. We're going to have some fun and get a chance to sort of show you some of the great things that are possible with the solution that's coming from Infinity. I was asked to kind of introduce this, and it's one of those things I'm always evolving in terms of what that actually is. But in terms of defining us, there are many organizations that do work with data. I think the differentiator is that we work with some of the best companies, and we are truly oriented towards partnering. And so if you put it as a theme, we definitely work with our customers rather than at our customers. And you can see on the left on the little slide that we're super proud of the work we do. Top left is YVR that won a global award. Those of you who have talked to us before are fully aware of that. And then even saving lives down on the bottom left, City of Ottawa and a flood app and a tornado app that we've done some very sophisticated analytics with. Super happy. One of the customers of Infinity is City of Ottawa, at the bottom left, and a number of others. Wonderful folks to work with, and you're going to see some very, very powerful solution today. So happy to be here and look forward to your responses at the end. Thanks, Angie.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to have you. Now, Martin, I'll hand over to you. Tell us something about Infinity before we get to the...
Thank you, Angie. Thank you. Happily, I'll introduce Infinity a bit. But before I introduce Infinity, I would like to introduce you, because Angie was our customer for 10 years, 15 years, and she's really a great innovator. And when we're talking about planning, basically it was something she did like every day, right? So we're a nice group here, able to discuss ins and outs of planning from the technology perspective, from the solution perspective, as well as from the customer's perspective. That's also very important. So if you may have any questions.
I have such a positive experience actually with Infinity and Qlik in planning that I'm glad to share that with anyone who's willing to listen. So.
She was a CFO and a board member of a large financial institution, so really valuable insights into planning from users' perspective and executives' perspective. So great stuff coming. Okay, just briefly introducing Infinity. Infinity is Qlik's technology partner and trusted extension developer. We've been working with Qlik for more than 10 years, really closely engaged with Qlik in Qlik's ecosystem. Infinity is a spin-off from eMark's, from Qlik's master reseller eMark, which is really the history and the power of knowing Qlik really deeply is here, right? So that means like when we saw we could add value to Qlik as a technology, so that's how it happened. That's how it started. We focused on developing this company and developing these capabilities that we're bringing. We have a global network of partners and customers. One of our focus partners and really best partners we're working with is GINQO here. So it's great that we can run a webinar together with Mike and with GINQO. Really great cooperation. So thank you for being here with us and doing it together. Yeah, and our mantra, I would say, is developing unique products. We're always searching for where we can add value, which is unique to other technologies, and pushing the boundaries of data analytics, which you will see with this planning solution as well. So that's something that's truly pushing the boundaries of data analytics and what can be done basically with data analytics tools such as Qlik. So that's Infinity, brief introduction. In terms of the products, which are basically part of the suite that we are bringing to the market, is these 3 products. All of these products, or the common denominator of these products, is that we're really focusing on adding actionability to data, right? So being able to act upon data. It's a suite of workflow tools, of data input tools, write back capabilities, and unstructured data, or basically working with files, working with documents, right? So if we look at these individual products, so starting from forms, forms is a tool that really enables to act upon data. What it means is it means data input and collaboration, basically in Qlik on any use case. Planning is one of these use cases, recently very popular, but it's a broad extension able to just add any interaction to data. It also enables document workflows, approvals, actions. So everything regarding documents and approvals of documents, and also planning and budgeting. So that's the core technology behind what we'll be talking about, with certain very strong benefits why this approach makes sense and why this is the approach that works for our customers. Then we can go to the left. That's the flow. Flow basically adds processes and workflows to the whole stack, to the whole suite. So it enables process analysis, data analysis in context of processes, highly relevant in many organizations, in manufacturing, in finance, wherever flow is important, and you need to analyze flows as such. So this gives this perspective and interaction as well. Also, kind of a visual data storytelling, so it helps easier navigate through the application, or through multiple applications in or outside Qlik. So it's really powerful in terms of developing the workflow the way we are used to, right? So having like individual screens and having like a linear workflow driven by some answers of the user, or some buttons, yes, no, or some other buttons that can help you navigate. So this is a very powerful stack, how you can build really true workflows in Qlik. And then there is this mole, which is the unstructured data connector. What it does is basically it connects files and the content of files, content metadata. So you can work with files and their content, like, for example, there are contracts, agreements, CVs, technical documents. There are many documents in a company, many of them subject to certain workflow, which can be handled by flow and forms together. But in some situations, it's worth understanding the content and extracting some meaning from the content. So that's where the mole fits. And together, this is a stack that basically, we would like to say, it brings Qlik applications to life.
Exactly, and I think we'll show that. We'll show that later with with the demos. Just to kind of start with budgeting and planning. As Martin said, I did have 15 years of very close experience with budgeting and planning. Evolved a lot over those 15 years until the end. Of course, there was COVID before I moved to the other side, where we had to do weekly planning because didn't know what was going to happen. So it really helps if you have a tool where everything is, where the data is, just to kind of start a little bit lighter maybe. Here we have some typical issues. Don't know anyone that has done budgeting and planning in Excel that hasn't had this problem. Here I have my favorite. You have the budget versions. And I actually had something similar. We have budget version 25_final, budget _25 top down final AC. Not sure which one is actually the final. And it did actually happen once as I was a CFO. We had almost everything automated in the planning except for that final top down that came from the group. Put it in Excel, send it to the team. They should process it. They processed it and didn't quite get it right. And I only realized about 1.5 days before the final approval of the supervisory board. So I had to quickly convene all the previous steps and get the approval. So it's really a lot can go wrong. I don't know if you, Martin and Mike, if you have some similar experience with clients where you have some issues where maybe this having this Infinity and Qlik tool can really help.
There's probably an endless group of folks who are looking at this and kind of giggling, Angie, because it's everybody's got some version of an Excel nightmare and sort of trying to find the right one that's at the right time that says the right thing. So
Exactly.
I think it's a great example. But what we're finding now, what our customers are saying, and I believe folks on the call, is that with supply chain changes, with all the different things that are happening in the world today in terms of impacting our economy every hour, that the ability not only to find this stuff, but that it's increasing this demand to say, I got to figure out what I've got and what's coming so that I can actually relate that back to the budget and re-budget and keep updating the budget.
Exactly.
And budgets are even, we're finding that budgets are even coming out later or even not even defined anymore in terms of a cycle because of this.
Yeah, it's really rolling. And this is actually what sold it for me, because we had a separate tool. We had Qlik and a separate tool. And once you have to send the data between the tools, you lose, you say, those moments. Yeah. As you say, matter of hours and minutes. And that's one of the powerful things about this tool for me, planning where the data is. Yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe a good idea would be, if you'd like to see if you're eligible for this, just everyone here, just to go to your files and search for the word final, right? If you have more than 10 files called final, basically it's something that that's also an issue, right? But my experience here, we're meeting this, we're encountering this everywhere, right? Wherever we come, this is an issue. Recently, there was a friend of mine coming and asking me to help him. They are like kind of a pharma company, global, and they have tens of salespeople all across the world, and they have some more people under them and so on. So like a large organization. And they, just like every organization, they need to do some business planning, sales planning. So what this means in their environment is that they send the salespeople and sales leaders some forecasts, which happens basically weekly. On a weekly basis, these salespeople send back some revised forecasts, some new versions of these forecasts, some comments and description about how this sales process goes and what works, what doesn't, and basically that's all good. But what's the problem is that this organization, of course, has like sales controlling, which needs to put it all together, right? And this is really like a lot of manual work, consolidating tens of various Excel spreadsheets and making some meaningful content, extracting some meaningful content out of that. So the point is how to reduce or remove this manual work. And it's really an issue that you have senior people who are doing this and shouldn't be doing this. They should be more like thinking about the meaning, maybe some recommendations. The brains that should really bring the value, not just consolidate data around Excel spreadsheets or some manual inputs, and many other examples that we could talk about. But this is like very, very common.
Exactly. So expensive and so much operational risk as well. So yeah, we talked a lot about it, so I'll keep very short on this slide so you can see the solution soon. But why is it revolutionary? Because it's simple. Infinity is low code, simple. I already mentioned working where the data is. Easy to use, even for me as a non-programmer, and I used to play with it, and really easy to understand. It's unique because it's only a Qlik native solution. When you use it, it's very natural. If you're used to using Qlik, you can naturally learn to do this as well. And for the user, it really seems seamless. And also higher value is something that I feel strongly about from my past. Higher value, it brings a higher value to your Qlik. Planning is just one example. Big example is why we have this webinar. That you can do more with your Qlik. And otherwise, you either have the Excel or another expensive system. So that's why we say this is revolutionary, and we're so excited about it. Yeah, and now without further ado, I'm going to, as I said, play the video because unfortunately Rado can't be here today, but here we are, ready. I'm going to hand over to Rado.
All right, yeah. Enough talk. Let's show something real from our kitchen, what we've been developing. All right. So I'll show my screen. Just tell me if you see it. Because I was recently on a webinar where the guy has such a bad bandwidth that he was talking and the pictures came 2 minutes afterwards. So just let me know if you see it and if you can see my screen.
I see it. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
It's reacting. Seems to be reacting.
All right, cool. Just minimize stuff that will not be helpful. All right, so I will be now in a role of some top manager. I'll start with FBNA because that's just that's such a standard thing that people usually associate with planning, to go with a little bit of financials. And I, as a top manager, I don't like to go too much into the weeds. I like to have set up some expectations. So let's say I have some like base, sort of like a plan pre-calculated here, and yeah, we might overshoot it a little bit. So let me just like decrease this fourth quarter by 10% and confirm it, so that I see the preview of my values. And what just happened is that I used Infinity to just do a very simple write back input of the top level top down plan, which utilizing Qlik, of course, very strong engine, immediately was transferred to the transfers and allocated in some P&L lines. And now, if I'm okay with it, I can maybe go ahead and submit this this first initial top level expectation for the next process of the workflow. What's happening in the background here is that I obviously don't want the plans to just change any time, right? So the system now locks the top down. Until somebody unlocks it, I'm not able to change it. So the next people in line can start somewhere, and I should also get an email, right, that the top down version was locked, so people get notified when something happens in the system. Moving on, let's go to P&L adjustments. Here, obviously, as a let's say operations manager, now I can focus maybe on just a subgroup of my P&L, and I could obviously like do simple adjustments of the values, but I don't have time for that. I will just shift to a yearly view where I can adjust the yearly values, and I'll change this one to 92,000 just to be not in red numbers. I don't like the red numbers, but I also need to set up some spread rule in order to distribute the number, the yearly value, into periods. Could be quarters, could be months, could be weeks, but we are okay with quarters because, you know, just to simplify things. Qlik can handle like allocation to months if necessary. And I'll choose the seasonality as a driver because, some business processes changed, so these values might behave a little bit differently in next year than they behaved previously. And what I can also do is if I'm okay with the other numbers, I just like use this little traffic light here to just submit for review the other lines. And I could comment it obviously, and other stuff. But just to go quickly through as most features as possible. I will just now update, and stuff happened in the background. What is most essential now is that these numbers are locked for me. I cannot update them anymore, because I again moved in the process further on. And as I said before, I don't want the plans to change anytime somebody decides that they want to change a plan. We need to, planning is most importantly a process and some sort of workflow that needs to follow some steps in order to not create some confusion or misunderstanding. So now I would, I have a little bit of help here. I will switch to a manager role, and what happened is that values unlocked for me. So if I would simulate sort of like some other user coming into the system, they would have the values unlocked and could change them further and move again in the planning, either approving the values for just another, maybe a final step in the process, or maybe send the values for rework. So these are like some meta planning features, capabilities that we of course have possible with Infinity and Qlik, and already implemented them with some customers quite successfully. So that's what, very quickly. So that's what we really like. But I want to stress one more thing here, just from the start, that it's, from my perspective, is really important to always remember the ROI of any digital transformation or implementation software project, because ROI, from my perspective, of such initiatives is driven mostly by two things. One of them is usage. So how many people are using the system and how they interact with it. Also to track the changes, like who did change what, when the changes happen, in order to have also, of course, have some audit track record, but also to see like if the usage is bad, then we don't have something is going on with the design or with the performance of the system. And the second very important, especially with planning aspect, is the accuracy, because increasing the accuracy of planning, that just trickles down to operations, to marketing, to HR, to finance. So if we have more accurate forecasts, then we get much more benefits downstream as well. Here, just two suggestions, like MAPE is a very good indicator of the planning, whether the plans are or are not like accurate or not. We can of course dig deeper to find really the ones that are off too much, and of course do a little bit of like a variance analysis, like what was, where did we miss where the variance between actuals and the targets biggest. This will be like the first demo. Angie, do you have something to add to this?
Yeah, a few things. I have to say, this variance waterfall used to cause me a bunch of work preparing that for the supervisory board, so it's a shame we didn't have that at the time. Yeah, I do want to quickly comment on his workflow and setup sheet, if you can just quickly go to there, because this is for me one of the nicest added value we didn't mention yet when doing the planning directly in Qlik. And I said this is what really helped for us. We started simple with this kind of financial planning. We really expanded it to the different areas to be more sophisticated. And what was really nice was be able to reuse the structures, because what we have here is Rado has simulated that the structure doesn't exist, because it can be that a company has 5 or 6 different entities or countries. There's no unified structure, so you can set that structure in your planning and then reuse it when you're getting the actual reporting. We did it the other way around, and that was really a lot of time saving, because if you have it in a separate tool, then you always have to make sure to remember every change has to be done twice. And the other one I'm quite passionate about is that CapEx budget, or the CapEx sheet. I have it here in my background, you can see it, because CapEx budgeting is often involves a lot of discussion. Really important strategic decisions should be based on strategic decisions. You have the different inputs, and it's in our case it was managed by someone else. Yeah. So what I really like is that you can have all the different owners put their requests directly in here. You have the year, you have the quarter, and then, of course, whoever the expert is will put the depreciation years, because probably the owner won't know it. And you put the request in, and here we have that it goes directly to the CFO for approval, but you can have multiple steps. You can have the owner go in, input it, and then this CMO needs to approve it first. It gets sent to the CFO, and Rado just sort it so nicely that it was approved by the CFO and was automatically calculated in the depreciation, and goes automatically into the plan. And how much time that saves compared to what we even did. Yeah, so really nice. Yeah, so that's my comments about financial planning. I know, Rado, you've got more to show us. I'm super excited about too. Yeah.
Yeah. I would just like to show 2 more applications which are about planning, because yeah, what we showed just in the past couple of minutes, that was sort of a standard way of looking at planning, right? You have some sort of form where you can adjust the numbers. But we're also thinking, like, since we have this like super cool Qlik engine, which is like super powerful, we can do all sorts of other cool stuff. We can start differently. We can to think a little bit differently with about the planning. And the one way I'm thinking is like sort of modeling, not only to generate some sort of plan, some sort of forecast, but actually understand as well the drivers which form that forecast. If we are talking, let's say, about profitability, like what is influencing the profitability, and to gain like insight into those drivers. So let's say here we have of course always some data pre-calculated, some base available for us to work with. The let's say these would be the sales numbers with different sort of margins on the item or customer level or country level. And what we can do here is to set up some sort of scenario, like, okay, what if we increase the quantity? How will it change our performance? But what if we also decrease the discounts the average discounts that we do give? And what if we just really increase the salaries of our sales organization? Like, how will that influence our profitability? So there is a way to play around with these drivers, and then obviously to store that scenario via forms, to have it kept somewhere, to have it logged, in order to do sort of comparison. Like, okay, we did some previous scenario with some set of drivers, some setup of drivers. Then we did another scenario with other setup of drivers, and how did we? What are the results? How they compare, either by total values, or if we distribute them by different sort of dimensions, items or countries or cities or customers or whatever, to do an in-depth analysis. And I talked about the fact that we pre-calculate, we create some sort of base that we influence by those drivers, and that's another whole topic for discussion when it comes to planning, because that base can be generated by very many different methodologies. There are simple ones, like just really taking and adjusting the previous year values, or there are a little bit of statistics, but very simple statistics, like a regression. But if we want to do really very accurate modeling and very accurate also base calculation, then we suggest to utilize some statistical models, statistical libraries, which could be calculated and by R or Python, and can be loaded back to Qlik. And the calculation can even happen like on the fly, as I click around, as I deep drill down to my values. The data is sent to R or Python, and I get the data immediately back, and I can utilize it further in my calculations. So here I have a chart which utilizes two different libraries. One is Holt Winters. It's calculated in R, and the second one is profit. It's calculated in Python. And we can see that the Python one, it's a little bit better, it's a little bit more closer to reality because yeah, it's a little bit more sophisticated. It also has like tens, like I don't know, how 50 or 70 parameters that can be adjusted. So it's quite a complex machine learning already. But that all depends on the, again, the ROI. What is considered enough? What brings the most return? And yeah, that drives like if we go into more sophisticated methods, or we are just okay with some simpler approach.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I did actually, we've been discussing planning obviously with lots of people lately. And just someone this morning was just mentioning to me that they don't see the value in investing in traditional planning because literally things change on a daily basis. Yeah. Czech government is meeting today, so we'll see what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm in the Czech Republic. Could change the economy, but yeah, so it's interesting to also have that possibility, you know. And this Rado opened it because he knows I really love this one too. That I can't not comment on it because doing a budgeting and planning is always difficult when you're trying to make people understand there's more than one way to make the results what they need to be. Yeah. And it sounds easier than it is. Yeah. And I love the fact that it can be visualized. These relationships can be visualized with Infinity and Qlik, because then people can understand. You're not asking, how do you calculate the sales margin? What's included? What's the difference between sales margin and full margin? Where's marketing? It's right there. Yeah, and people can see, and you can very easily visualize what impacts there are, and it's very powerful in making people understand what really can be done to improve, to really bring the value of planning, not make it just a regular exercise because your shareholder said you have to do it, but really bring the real business value in helping people understand how to make the results better. Yeah. So those were, I would say, our core planning things we wanted to show you. But of course, we have more. We can expand the horizon. Yeah. And Rado has another exciting application. One last one to show. We're to really help you maybe understand that you can kind of use these principles anywhere, not just like in sales and financial, where we usually traditionally think of planning.
Yeah. I have one more, just a little intro about that. We already implemented Infinity with like HR, with marketing, risk management. Like there are all sorts, like anywhere where you need user input. It can be almost called planning. Just like how we think about it is that the modern planning really happens in the back end. And if you have such a powerful engine like Qlik and such a high performant and easy to set up write back tool like Infinity, then really you can think very, very broadly and cover also some niche planning scenarios. Because in the end, coming back to current way of how people approach planning, like the really critical inputs are usually collected from people who are not dedicated data analysts or planners. They are like frontline salespeople or marketers, people who like 99% of their time need to dedicate to like doing business and doing their own stuff. So really, what is important is to get only essential inputs from them as quickly as possible. And for example, one of the things we developed also and implemented for one of our customers was this algorithm, which calculated whether they are going to meet or not meet the required or promised delivery dates of their orders. Right, so they're a manufacturing company, and they were a lot of incoming orders, and they promised some date to customer, and yeah, they would like to know, obviously, if they are going to make it. And that's also some sort of planning, which is mostly reliant on the backend algorithm. The backend algorithm is sort of a rule-based, iterative calculation, which Qlik is of course capable of. And you need just a couple of inputs to make it happen. And those inputs would include some sort of norms for different items as well as operations. You need some capacity for of course different shifts and those operations, and also you can plan downtime, right? So something happens, or a regular maintenance. So you need to also be aware of that. And once you have this data, the algorithm can work. And since this is in BI, it's a little bit disconnected from ERP. It's not directly influencing the manufacturing. It can if you would send those data there, but let's say we want to play around with it, right? So to create a little bit of to create the scenarios and understand what's really influencing the end result. So we can do a little small changes. Just one parameter here we changed, and I didn't mention it before, but we'll get back to that. Before there were only 2 orders which were in red, like they were not meeting the required planned date, and now we have more than 50 orders which were calculated as late, like they were come too late to the customer. And of course we can see like what's the utilization and which orders they are, and when they happened, and how did our operations perform. But this is also for me a nice example of the fact that the planning from the point of view of people who interact with it in the form of giving inputs, like entering some values, can be really simplified, can be really simple and straightforward. Yeah. And then it's important to have quite a strong algorithm behind it, and then think about the workflow and think about what needs to happen in the back end and those back end calculations.
So I hope that we gave you a good idea of what our product, the product can do. As I said, Rado couldn't make it today, but he's definitely the best at presenting. So, and just to really summarize the business benefits, I think you could really see the flexibility. And I'll just quickly go through this, and I'd like your opinion as well, Mike and. Guys, yeah, definitely better insight because all the data is in one place. You have a clear workflow and a centralization of data, not only the data, but all the responsibilities and the inputs. Cost savings, because as we mentioned, there's no separate tool, no data interfaces, so you don't have to manage the structures twice. And this really, the reduction of operational risk of getting it out of Excel and getting it even, reusing the structures is also a reduction of operational risk, because you can add some important accounts or products and somehow not have it there for the planning. And of course, it's extremely flexible, that you can start in line with your needs. You can start small. Often people start small. I'm quite passionate about digital transformation, supporting in companies, and often the start small is the big success, because you kind of get people used to working it. Of course, you can and expand, or you can just start big. And really important is the security as well, that if it's Qlik native, so you have that same level of security. So guys, what do you want some comments about the business benefits that you see?
Yeah, I definitely would like to comment. It's actually a bit to the history, how we actually started thinking about this. Like, why should we actually develop anything? Because yeah, you may say like there are planning tools everywhere, right? So why do we need another one? Actually, it was coming back to our experience working with customers, where we used to work with various planning tools, but somehow there were issues, especially performance issues, issues with being really too complex to maintain and modify. And we know that planning process this is constant modification, like constantly something is changing. So it must be flexible enough, must be easy enough to do these changes, and can't be like too exhausting. The whole process is exhausting enough just to make it even more exhausting, right? So these were the thoughts. So I would really say, like, the key benefit here is performance and security. So that's something you definitely can expect from this approach. Being in Qlik, having a Qlik native approach and powered by a backend of Infinity, the whole solution is certified by Qlik, so it's also very important. So it has a really high performance. We have various performance tests, comparisons. It's like 10 times faster, even more faster than really the extensions we tested. So that's very important. So that's very important in terms of how it can perform, because nobody wants to wait for for a minute or more for reload, or until something gets refreshed, especially if your planning has to go fast. We were developing based on the customer requirements. So, for example, one of these requirements that came straight to me when I was talking to a customer was that they have like 2,000 items they are planning, right? And sometimes it's not the best way just to go into a tool and enter every single value into the cell, because it's just too much work, right? Especially if you have it in Excel already pre-calculated, right? So yes, we listened and we developed a copy paste from Excel, right? So you can copy paste. And that's what Angie was saying. You can start simply with a simple planning. Just cover some area where you feel you should have something better than Excel. Something that will immediately compare the actuals with the forecast values and budgeted values, and then it can grow, right? So a completely different mindset. You don't have to think about going to large projects, building, waiting for a couple of years for budget and then for a couple of years to implement something. This can be really agile, like immediately. So also the financial benefit there, doesn't cost a fortune, but at the same time, it has exactly the same benefits that you expect from a planning tool, and it's kind of an open source approach, right? That's a big advantage, because basically if you have a good Qlik partner or good Qlik developers, basically they can maintain the solution. It's really something that there are people who are able to do this, because it's Qlik native, and being a Qlik customer, you have Qlik developers. You're working with the best Qlik partner you can work with, which is GINQO here. So there is no limit here in terms of how to maintain this tool and maintain this application. So yeah, just a summary from me. Like, you can really start simple. You can be ambitious, really evolve over time. There's really not a known limit that we would have reached by now. So I can refer to a testing we did with in our R&D team, hundreds of rows and really a load of data, and still performing, still working fine. Why is that? It's because of the architecture of the tool. So of course that's something to be tested in the individual environment of the customer, but this architecture enables it. So limit is basically not the tool. We can look at the Qlik as such, and the performance of the environment, which can be sorted when needed. So that's very important. And you can also think out of the box, right? So it's not just financial planning that's in the world. There's so many areas of planning, or some data forecasts, target setting, goal setting, workflows that you just need to have in a company in various areas, just like Rada was mentioning here, in manufacturing, planning, operations, in maintenance, in financial world, in many areas there. So wherever you look, you need to enter some goals, targets, plans, evaluate these plans. So this agile process enables to do it, right, without building something too robust and too huge. So just a couple of thoughts.
You hit on a whole bunch of key topics there, and the end one really resonates for me, is that today everybody's got to be able to jump in and help, right? So you have your standard sort of static, if you will, FBNA process, we gotta worry less about the static capabilities. Obviously, you need to be governed. You need to get the right answers, but you also need folks to jump in so that, I think Rado mentioned, there's sales planning. Maybe it's the salespeople. They don't see themselves as planners, right? But they are. So
Yeah.
the ability to enable those folks, to enable you as a planner or a financial analyst through the same system in a very flexible way of doing things. And guys, if it wasn't clear, the solution is not sort of your static, here's the box, we're finished and good luck with it. It really is a malleable, flexible approach. It's almost like a template. So what you saw today is very, very malleable. Sorry for the word twice, but the ability to actually move it, change it, update it in terms of what you would like to see and matching your processes. And I also like what you said about being able to bring in Excel. The world still runs on Excel. Sorry, but it does. And the more we can actually manage and govern that Excel world and take those Excel things that need to be governed and managed, goes back to your example, Angie, at the very beginning. It's a big to me, that's a huge business benefit. We're not changing what you guys do every day.
Yeah.
We're doing it in a different way so that it's more easily governed. And there's a ton of things here, but hopefully we'll get some feedback from the folks who are joined as to what did you see today, and then know that there's what we would do with you is talk to you about how you do these things today and sort of show you how what we have fits for you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And as I said, I'm quite passionate about it. You can also see from the video, and just a small comment about that video. Ready for the questions, answers. This was actually the third time I've shown that video, and I make that comment. I was worried about the comment about the Czech government meeting, but things are developing so fast that it's actually relevant every time that we show the video. So it's exactly kind of perfect for planning. Don't know exactly what's going to happen. The whole and the summit, the economy could completely change from one day to the next. So now, as you saw, there's the question and answer session. We said before we start, if you have any comments or questions, you can feel free to contact Mike or I, GINQO directly, or Infinity. So if you have your questions, you can either ask them or put them in the chat. We would love to hear your also questions, your experiences, thoughts. You can raise your hand. Everyone is muted now, so.
One little thing, guys, that may not have, while you're typing those in or unmuting, Angie mentioned something that I thought really resonated as well, which is the visualization of this. We're living in the world of what's now called the Great Resignation, which is really a weird time in history where something like 20% of folks are moving on to new places, way more than ever. So the idea of having something that's easy to understand and get started with for new people, we haven't really talked about that today, but your flow capability at the top and actually saying, how does this process work? Like, I'm new to the company, or I'm new to this process. That kind of jumped off the page at me. Are there any questions that we've got so far? Have we seen some?
I think people are shy today.
Dave, you must have a question.
Yeah, if while we're waiting for the questions, I fully agree with the flow, because planning process can get complex, right? And sometimes it's not done like every week. So sometimes it's just done like once a year. So it's always good to help people navigate and help them understand how the process goes, to make it as easy and simple for them as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what we're
kind
hearing.
of self-documenting in a way, right? So it's very good that way.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're hearing basically everywhere, just because at the end is the feedback of the users that matters, right? And planning is not something that everybody enjoys doing and loves doing. Just, as you said, like,
I'm the outlier in that one.
the outliers because we just love it. But typically, when we work with the end users, it's like, I don't want to use any swear words because but many times.
Please, we're in public here. Come on.
Yeah. True. So, but our job is to make it as comfortable for them as possible and make it at least like kind of a good experience for them. So that's our goal, and that's how we were thinking about it when creating this tool set. And exactly as you said, it's a set of templates. So practically, it's Qlik, it's Infinity extension, and it's a set of templates that are available to our partners, and they're available to GINQO. So whenever you need anything, you can just reach out to GINQO and fully equipped to work with you on that. So that's how we approach it, and really that's the future. So rather than building a robust standalone tool for planning, we thought we would create a set of templates that with the best practices and kind of an open source approach in Qlik, right? And revolutionize this planning with this approach. So that's something which we consider kind of unique in the ecosystem, given the parameters and the power that's there, right? Because on demos it's always nice to see some nice visual, graphs and tables, and fast because there are 20 rows. But in reality, it must perform with thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, depends on how complex the planning can get. So it's the difficult part is to make it really applicable for simple use cases, because that's where it can really start, and you don't have to over engineer it. But at the same time, make it applicable for large scale use cases where it can evolve. And I think that's where we are. So I think we were able to nail both worlds, and we're ready to prove it, right? So once there's a need, I'm happy to support GINQO in the efforts, and hopefully we'll be in touch.
Good stuff. So folks, are there any questions? I think we've covered a lot of ground today, and wonderful job, Angie, Martin, and Rado, if you're there in recording or not. Good stuff. Thank you for including us. And guys, as Angie said, feel free. We're tied at the hip, so get in touch with the folks at Infinity or directly with us, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah. So thank you. Always nice to see you, Mike. And Martin, I do apologize, Martin, for shortly forgetting what your name is. Those of you in North America, I think most of you in North America, a nice day, and the rest of us will have dinner now. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, we're around the world. Good stuff. And so, Angie, you're buying the next beer for Martin, and we'll see everybody at Qlik World, right?
Absolutely.
Right on.
Can't wait, Mike. Really looking forward. And we'll have a booth there, and we're welcoming all of you at our booth. So
yeah.
You heard it here. Thank you, folks. Thank you for coming out today. For those of you who know, the recording will be forwarded to those, so feel free to pass it on to other folks in your organization. And as we said a few times, please feel free to follow up if you have questions or you'd like to talk further about this.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for coming. Bye.
Good night. Bye.